Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and greetings from 6G Flagship, Finland. I'm going to talk to you about some of our visions and thinking about how 6G will shape up, what are the critical drivers that we researchers should bear in our minds when doing our daily jobs as researchers. We started our flagship program already 1st of May 2018, and being the first large-scale 6G research program around the world. Recently, there have been several other significant programs being launched, for example, in Europe, really massive operation in Germany, and recently also in Spain. But before that, several research projects have been funded by European Commission, with the European Commission flagship being a Hexa-X project. So in our research program, of course, the focus is on fundamental research aspects, where we are focusing our research in 4 major areas: wireless connectivity, devices and circuit technologies, distributed computing, as well as services and applications. And this wireless connectivity area is really to develop the wireless system concept, try to study different transmission techniques and receiver algorithms and related implementations that would make 6G possible. Device and circuit technology area is looking at materials and circuit technologies used that are necessary to try to push the operational frequency towards terahertz communications range. Distributed computing is really trying to look at how we can more efficiently utilize modern AI-inspired cloud type of processing close to the users and end user applications. So mobile edge intelligence is there the key research theme. In services and applications, we are trying to understand how the critical vertical application areas are built up, who are the key players in the value chain, how do we need to understand, and what aspects we have to understand from some of the key application areas when defining the requirements for different 6G system settings. So with these 4 research fronts, we have been doing research already for 4 years. Very recently, we passed our first midterm evaluation and got green light to progress to the second phase of our flagship program, which will start May 1st this year and will last another 4 years. The strategic research areas will remain the same as during the first period, and now the main goals are, of course, slightly changed from the beginning, with emphasis on trying to develop really a national 6G test network capability and environment, also trying to understand some of the selected vertical application areas far better than so far. And our vertical application areas that we are putting emphasis on are health, industry, vehicular, and energy sectors. Interestingly, we are also developing currently a new concept in the city of Oulu called 6G Radio Park, which will be located near the future Nokia campus, which is being built right next to university, which is an open environment for industrial and research partners sharing some of the lab space and focusing our efforts in trying to implement and demonstrate some of the critical 6G radio technologies for future needs. So with this kind of general setting, we are continuing and trying to maintain our capabilities in developing some of the key technology enablers and also trying to act as one of the 6G opinion leaders. When we are looking at the needs and related technologies that 6G has to address, we have to understand that the value chains are not changed very fast, and actually they are reformed every 20 years. 5G has made a lot of promises in trying to offer solutions to different application areas of different sorts, and we are IoT and machine type connectivity solutions. But unfortunately, I think we don't understand well enough how these different application areas should function naturally, so that they would be ready to accept many of the technology solutions that our community can offer them. So we have to understand them far better. We have to put our efforts also in working side by side with them to build up this understanding. Regulation also has to support us when we start to develop understanding in different critical vertical application areas. And one example is that spectrum regulation, which is key in enabling and allowing us to operate and build services in different highly varying application areas. As we understand now, the lower frequency bands are dominated by mobile network operators, and they have licenses to operate these current 4G, 5G bands the next 20-25 years, and the future 6G bands, which are not yet defined even, are going to higher frequency bands of spectrum, and we have to try to think about licensing that part of spectrum quite differently compared to what has happened before. And because of the nature of these higher frequency bands, we are inevitably going towards much shorter range systems. And so the key question is, does this global spectrum regulation, or nationwide spectrum regulation, make sense anymore? And one example of an alternative solution that we actually were suggesting already about 6-7 years ago is micro operator concept. So we are suggesting again to work towards local 6G micro operators, which is different from typical MNOs, so that they have a unique, independent own infrastructure, but they don't necessarily have own customer base. So, and also the revenue models are completely different compared to what they exist now. For example, the service offering can be part of property offering in real estate area, or it can be part of overall customer service model, or if you think about governmental public services in general, maybe improving the efficiency of those public services is bringing cost savings to society, and that's the revenue model that we have to think about. Anyways, the stakeholders in this micro operator thinking are quite different compared to current MNO dominated models. And we already see some examples of this happening, for example, in Japan, in local 5G concepts, as well as in Germany. In our flagship, our research agenda is really broad. Besides several very interesting and important technology research areas with independent teams, we are looking at regulatory issues, sustainability issues increasingly, and future business models that 6G should try to support and enable. So although these technology research areas, that's our bread and butter, so to say, and that's where the majority of our research is taking place, I would like to claim a little bit that maybe we have to give more emphasis to societal needs, how the world is changing. We should give more emphasis to those. and try to see that what needs to be changed from current thinking, current regulation, current, let's say, business logics, so that the future world, how we envision it together, would be possible. And in our opinion, this type of research is not taking place as much as it should right now. Besides these technical KPIs, I think it's important to try to list and understand what are the key values coming from society and sustainability targets. What are those, and how can we address those in when eventually trying to lay down the requirements for 6G? There are many of those: openness, UN SDGs, global coverage, transparency, privacy, security, trust issues, and also inclusion of different vertical players, inclusion of different user segments even. So I think these are quite challenging and hard to address from numerical values point of view, and even many times hard to try to address in our daily research. Of course, 6G is for super efficiency as well. We are talking about oftentimes terabit per second connectivity, and during the Winter Olympics, Tsinghua University researchers demonstrated one possibility to try to get that, and there are many others as well trying to make the same thing. In laboratory environment, of course, things are quite easy, but try to make it in practice, a hard job. Reliability, security, latency targets are virtually approaching to the hard limits. Combining communications and sensing, it's an increasingly important area that many research groups are looking at. Remote areas coverage with other solutions rather than non-terrestrial networks is also a big challenge, and we are working on that. And many other issues that make 6G really superior to anything seen before. But when eventually, when we are trying to make a system concept out of all these interesting and relevant requirements, this will lead to rather contradictory system requirements, and it will be very difficult to have one unique solution serving all different application areas. So a lot of customization will be needed in the 6G deployment eventually. So that will pose a huge challenge to 6G standard concept in the end of the day. We had already, that was more than a year ago, we had a really huge expert group, global expert group, looking at different technology areas, trying to see what are the research challenges related to each of them. And you can download and access them from our website if you are interested. And there are a lot of different technology challenges and research questions addressed in each and every one of these. If we try to somehow summarize what are the key drivers towards 6G, I would like to split them into societal, business, standards, and technology areas. Societal challenges are related to two things. First of all, we have to try to close the digital divide. We have to make sure that no matter what part of the world we are, the people living there have some sort of access to modern digital services. That is a huge challenge. It's not always technical challenge. Maybe it's more financial challenge, sometimes political challenge as well. Also, thinking about future digital societies and how much we depend on digital services, we also depend on service availability and service coverage. So we must have access to critical digital services, no matter where we are during the time of the day. Concerning these new ecosystems, I think there are several possibilities for disruptive business models. Those will require changes both in telecom regulation, but also in field-specific regulatory change is needed. For example, in healthcare sector, probably a lot of things and regulations related to medical area need to be looked at. Global collaboration is, of course, extremely important, especially in the world of today, where we have a lot of uncertainties arising all the time. And until now, we have seen how powerful it has been to have one global standard where the global efforts are going to the same direction. This mobile standard is coming every 10 years, but the eventual business is reshaped in 20-year cycles. And what is even much slower is related to spectrum regulation principles, how slowly those are changing. Not much has changed from the early days of mobile communications, except these local spectrum licensing concepts that have been introduced with 5G, and we expect that development to continue also in the future. In technical areas, I have listed here 4 important areas: security, networking, radio performance, and artificial intelligence related issues. So when we are massively going to digitalized services in the future world, I think the data privacy and security is becoming even more important, drastically more important than today. And I think it's really a big risk if we cannot win the trust of future users of 6G. Networking architecture should probably change towards more service-driven one, since in the future there will be a lot of different networks built and operated by increasing number of network service providers, and actually we don't care anymore in the far future who is actually providing the access. We are only interested in getting different services delivered, which can vary from time and place. Super efficient connectivity is the target for 6G radio. With super efficiency, it can be extremely high speed, very high reliability, or very low latency, or a very accurate localization or other sensing capabilities. And when we call these super challenges of radio, I think we are often, most of the time, talking about rather short-range networks utilizing higher bands and even above 100 gigahertz at deep end and beyond that. As we all know, artificial intelligence is one of the game changers in providing us really smart and learning, self-learning applications. Also, AI will be used increasingly in optimizing and operating the networks, and it's already being used, and the importance of that is only increasing. Finally, I would like to say you some words about what we have done recently. We organized a demo contest with our students, and you can access our YouTube channel, checking what the students did in different futuristic areas, what future wireless connectivity could bring to us. If you are interested in following in more details what we are doing, we have a 6G Waves magazine that we are publishing on a regular basis. We are also actively organizing a 6G summit And the next 3 years, it is organized in conjunction with EU CNC conference, supported and sponsored by European Commission. I thank you for your time and attendance to this event. Have a nice day. Thank you.